I knew Hunter. Me and Hunter were hanging out right before when he was in that the no compete in between WCW and before we went to WWE, and I hadn't been signed yet by WCW. Okay. But we were like friends. We hung out. The wrestlers back in Atlanta, we hung out. Yeah. We'd go to the pool together and stuff, and because we were wrestlers, we had a bunch of time to kill during the week. Nobody worked. It was the indie guys, so like you're working the weekends all week. You're doing nothing. Yeah. So the wrestlers kind of like, if you're in the business, you started working out with the guy, just start hanging out with him. So
what was Triple H like in those days?
Good. I mean, he's cool. They kind of like identical to the way you see him now, like the way he presents himself. But he was it was funny because we went to we used to hang out. We go to the strip joints together and stuff and everything and all that. And he was a big. It was funny too. He became like I remember when he left because this is the part where he left WCW, right? I was getting this part. He was always kind of like critical of Flair a little bit. Like the way Flair would talk to him and stuff and all that. But they became good friends and they went to WWE together. But I thought that was entertaining. That like I knew him. And then he became the Clique. Then I became friends with Kevin and Scott after that. And I could see how all these guys were friends with each other when I was friends with them because we had just similar interest or knowledge of the business. Just because we all kind of thought alike, about the business. And Joe, we all had similar kind of creative, kind of like had cool conversations about things, like angles and stuff and everything. So. That's what I remember.
Have you run into him at all again since you had all this?
Just one time at a show at I was in San Diego with Conan. We went backstage at a WWE show one time. I think it was a SmackDown taping, and I ran into him, shook his hand, gave him a hug, just hey, what's going on? Just had like a minute of conversation. That's about it. Okay. Oh no, and also too no, that's not entirely accurate. Before that, when he had this is later, okay, but earlier in the career, when he had torn his quad. Okay, before Kevin, this is when WCW went out of business, and before Kevin had gone to when WCW went out of business and Kevin wasn't working. Okay, he was collecting money from WCW that they owed him, and so Hunter had torn his quad, and he was rehabbing with Dr. Andrews in Alabama, in Birmingham. And me and Kevin went to go see him because Hunter was like, they actually had I guess this is way back when, the early 2000s. I guess they had so many wrestlers used to go see Dr. Andrews in Birmingham. They had a ring there. They had a ring at Dr. Andrews, the rehab center with all the football players. Everything. They had a wrestling ring there because I guess they had so many wrestlers. Like they go to rehab, they go in the ring. So I went and I worked out with Hunter. Like when I just he bumped us around, he was rehabbing. So I just went. Bumped around with him, and that's when Kevin got in the ring because Kevin hadn't worked in like maybe a year. Kevin got in the ring, showed Hunter what he could do. After that, Hunter went back up north and stuff, and then Kevin went back up north too. So
he didn't want to help you.
I didn't really. You know what? Here was the thing: when WCW went out of business, this is kind of like sketchy details because to me, like things happen. And a lot of time has gone by, so it's like of all the things that happened in my career, it's like Jesus, it's like 18 years ago, So it's hard to remember like exact details of certain things, But just the one thing I remember is that like when WCW was going out of business, is that Johnny Ace and I did not get not that we didn't get along, like we were professional with each other, but when he had come in, he was telling people, hey, we're coming in here, we're gonna take over. I was on the booking team with this, so we're gonna get rid of Disco and stuff, and he didn't realize he's telling people this. Hey, I'm friends with these. They're coming and telling me what he's saying. Yeah. So I was just very I didn't have a high opinion of him because this guy's behind my he's talking cool in my face behind my back. He's telling people they've got no reason to lie to me. He's my good friend. So I just did not have a high opinion of him. But this is 18 years ago. So it's like so when WCW went out of business. I had come off a period of time where I was booking for 9 months, and then then I was off the booking team. Then like the last maybe 6 weeks to 2 months more WCW, and then we were done. I was burnt out. I mean, I was just like because you know, it's just a lot of work. I was working, going on the road, come home, and we'd wake up on Wednesday morning, and I have to go to the booking meetings and stuff, you know, in Atlanta. So I was just completely burnt out. So I wasn't really, you know, eager to like, geez, I want time off, kind of, right? And I forgot the conversations exactly how they went. But I remember that Johnny Ace had called me up and said that, hey, you know, we're talking about like, we got to talk about, you know, whether or not we're going to bring you in for a deal. Because the thing was with me, you know, back then we had your contracts were in 4 quarters. Okay, so I was in the like, I had a whole quarter left when WCW went out of business of getting paid a good chunk of change, because I was making $350 a year guaranteed. So I was going to have 1 quarter, because like right when we went out of business, my quarter just started. I was going to get a quarter of money for doing nothing. So like, okay, so like when WCW when they went out of business, I was like, I'd heard stories back then that like the WWE locker room was not that. Like they weren't doing that, you know. I just heard it was just one, like the boys up there weren't happy, you know. So, and I was burnt out, so I was just like, hey, I'll just stay home and just, you know, who would? I mean, theoretically, it's like you're making $80,000 for 3 months to do nothing, you know. So 80, whatever it was,
and
so I
was
just
working for like 6 years straight.
Yeah. So it's like, and so I guess they had like they were talking about doing a deal or something. I forget if they had called me from the point when the contract started, or whether they were talking to me after my quarter ended, like 3 months later. But I thought that, because like back then you were hearing stories about, oh, they forgot guys' contracts were rolling over, and like they would get another quarter paid to do absolutely nothing because they forget, oh, this guy's kind of. But I'll never forget, bro. They called me like the day before my contract was getting ready to extend. They said, hey, we're canceling your contract. I'm like, all right, well, that makes sense. You know, company's out of business, everything. And I just can't remember if I had the conversation then or there, but they had said like, hey, we got to talk about like coming in for to doing a deal. And I don't know if there was a deal where I was supposed to call them back, or they were supposed to get back in touch with me, but we never corresponded after that.